They said she was guilty before she even opened her mouth. A maid with no money, no lawyer, and no family to stand beside her, dragged into a courtroom against one of the richest men in the city. Everyone thought it was over for her, that she'd be crushed under the weight of his power. But they didn't know that, sitting quietly in the back of that courtroom, was a man who had seen the darkest battles, a single father with nothing left to lose, and a mind sharper than anyone could imagine. And when he stood up, everything changed. Maria had worked for the Ashfords for 3 years, quietly tending to their mansion, polishing marble floors she could never afford to walk on as her own, and scrubbing silver spoons that mocked her empty kitchen back in her one-room apartment. She lived paycheck to paycheck, sending most of her money to her younger brother's schooling and her mother's medicine back in their small town. Life was hard, but she bore it with grace, never asking for pity. But one winter evening, everything shattered. A diamond necklace worth millions went missing from Mrs. Ashford's dressing room. The alarms pointed nowhere, the cameras mysteriously shut down during those 2 hours, and the only suspect they pointed at was the maid. Maria. She had no alibi except the truth she stammered out, "I didn't do it." But in a house filled with silk curtains and whispers of wealth, her voice was like dust against thunder. The police believed the millionaire's word over hers. She was arrested in front of her neighbors, shame branding her face. In court, the Ashfords' lawyer, a man paid more in a day than Maria earned in 6 months, smirked as he painted her as a desperate thief, a woman clawing at riches she couldn't have. She had no lawyer of her own, no money for one, and no family in the city to stand with her. Her eyes, wide and pleading, searched the courtroom as though anyone, just anyone, might believe her. But the benches were filled with spectators waiting for the easy verdict. Guilty Maid. Another thief. And yet, in the far corner, a man sat. Broad shoulders, worn jacket, military dog tags hanging beneath his shirt. His name was David Cole. A war veteran. A single dad. A man who carried both scars and silence, preferring to stay invisible in a city that had forgotten its soldiers. He watched Maria tremble as the prosecutor shouted at her. He saw how her hands shook when she tried to speak. And something inside him, something he thought had died in the war, stirred again. The judge asked if anyone had more to say before Maria was sentenced. The courtroom fell into smug silence. That's when David Cole stood. His voice was calm, but it cut through the air like a blade. "Your Honor, I request permission to speak." The prosecutor scoffed. "And who are you?" David didn't flinch. "A father. A veteran. And a man who's tired of watching people get crushed by money." The judge hesitated, but curiosity won. "Proceed." David walked forward, each step steady. He explained how he had been in the Ashford mansion that night, not as a guest, but as a contractor hired briefly to check security wiring after the system glitched weeks prior. His mind, trained in strategy and observation from years of combat, recalled details no one else noticed. The cameras weren't shut down randomly, they were cut deliberately from inside. And the timing aligned not with Maria's presence, but with a gala where Mr. Ashford's own associates had been drinking upstairs. Then David revealed the twist. While reviewing blueprints for the Ashford home, he had noted an unused service passage that connected directly to the dressing room. A passage Maria never had access to, but one that Mr. Ashford's business partner had been seen near that night. The courtroom shifted uneasily. The millionaire's calm confidence cracked. David's voice grew firmer, steady as if briefing soldiers before a mission. He spoke not just of evidence, but of Maria herself, her record of loyalty, her sacrifices for her family, her integrity proven by years of hardship. "I fought wars," David said, eyes burning into the jury. "And I've seen true criminals. That woman," he pointed at Maria, who was now shaking with tears, "is not one of them." Gasps rippled. The jury leaned forward. Even the judge's pen stilled. The prosecutor tried to interrupt, but David wasn't finished. From his worn jacket, he produced an overlooked maintenance log he had kept months ago, a record of when the Ashfords' cameras failed, which matched the same window of time that the necklace vanished. He had saved it, not knowing it would ever matter. But now, it was Maria's salvation. By the time David sat down, the courtroom had transformed. Maria, once a shadow, was now seen in the light of truth. The jury whispered. The judge's expression softened. For the first time since her nightmare began, Maria dared to believe she might walk free. the millionaire's empire of lies crumbled under the weight of one man's courage. And as the gavel fell, the lesson remained: sometimes heroes don't wear capes, and sometimes justice is not bought with millions, but spoken by a single voice that refuses to stay silent. The story of Maria and David isn't just about a court case, it's about how one act of courage can change another person's entire life. It reminds us that the world may side with the powerful, but truth doesn't need wealth to stand tall. And sometimes, when all hope is lost, an unexpected voice can rise, turning